Go. Welcome back, everybody. Championship Week Video Notebook here at Hoops HD, the final episode, 2019 season finale. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood, joined by John Stalika and David Griggs, live from the Puppet Bunker.
It is Selection Sunday.
Yes, it is.
St. Patrick's Day. You need to let me out of the bunker now. It's over. You can let me out now.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Selection Sunday. We have a few more games to go. We've got 6 championships on Sunday to go still, and David's already drinking.
Yep.
But this is the show where we review everything that's going on in the conference tournament play. We preview the final games coming up here on Sunday. We are going to update our survival board. We're going to discuss what happened in our Hoops HD mock committee. I know Mr. Sleeka's ready with an in-depth report on that. And news and notes, other than Mike Dunleavy being out at Tulane, I don't think there was much news and notes today, was there?
Right. Tulane getting rid of Mike Dunleavy. What they did this time was they handled it a little better. At least they waited until the team had been eliminated from the tournament to fire him. Anyway, Mike Dunleavy, a good coach. He showed moments to where you thought he was going to get it going there, but never really did. You kind of wonder if the problem's really the coaches. It might just not be set up for a whole lot of success there.
Oh, hey, it's a great city. Give them that.
Yeah, it is.
Let's get to games right here because we got a lot to get through. It was a very busy day today, and we got a little bit to preview for tomorrow as well. But let us figure out how to get the screen share working and then get some games on the screen.
Yeah.
It was ACC Championship Day today. Duke and Florida State in the 3 versus 4 seed, although two of the two teams that are going to be ranked very high when the brackets come out. But David, Duke won it, and they, I guess they looked pretty good in this game, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They did open it up to about 15 or 16 points. Florida State came back and kept it close. I was really impressed with Florida State in this tournament, the way they played all the way through. They had an opening round game against a Virginia Tech team that's top 20, so they did pretty well for themselves, beating a top 20 team, a likely 1 seed, and then taking on the road or on a neutral floor. I think they certainly helped their resume quite a bit, and then a good showing against Duke. Florida State, keep in mind, started off 1-4. Since then, they had only lost 1 ACC game. That was to this Duke team on the last-second shot prior to today. So this ended a really remarkable run for the Seminoles.
Yeah, great season for the Seminoles. Obviously, they got a lot of basketball to go here. They'll find out where they're going. I'm thinking they're a 3 seed. I'm thinking Duke's a 1 seed. Stalika, it was also Championship Day in the Big East today, where we had Seton Hall against Villanova in a real fun game.
This has become a popular rivalry, at least as far as Big East tournament standards. Seton Hall in the new Big East, they started off with a big upset of Villanova 5 years ago, and they also had beaten Nova in the title game back in 2016, I want to say. So a little bit of revenge for Villanova in this one where they went tooth and nail, but were able to close out the Pirates.
Yeah, and with their wins of this tournament, David, we think Seton Hall is solidly in the field at this point. And Villanova, 5 seed, having pulled the double, won both conference tournament and regular season.
Sounds right. The committee could give them a 4. I don't think they will. I mean, it's just going through the exercise that we did. There's just a lot of good teams ahead of them. But real exciting game today, as you mentioned. It was close all throughout. It kind of seesawed back and forth. Came down to the last possession of the game.
It did. And David, let me stick with you. It's also Championship Day in the Big 12 tournament where only 2 teams have won this Big 12 tournament in the last 300 years, and was one of those 2 again this year.
Yeah, Iowa State wins the Big 12 tournament. It's what they do. They came in the worst seeded team in all the games, but still won them all. Certainly going to help their profile. I don't know where they're going to land on the seed list. I think we've got them in the 5-6 range, somewhere around there. But Kansas advancing to the final, I think a lot of people think they helped themselves, but then you look, they beat a Texas team who's 500. They beat a West Virginia team who's way below 500. Despite getting all the way to the title game, I don't think Kansas really moved the needle at all.
It was certainly a marked improvement for Iowa State, who actually themselves happened to be the number 10 seed in this tournament last season.
Yeah, I think if Iowa State lost to Baylor, they could have been in around the 8 or 9 seed range. I think that they have a case for a 5 seed, maybe more in the 6th line, but they're in that ballpark now.
Yeah, real good.
Kansas could be joining Texas Tech and Kansas State all as protected seeds, probably more in the 3-4 seed range, though.
Probably so, yeah.
Pac-12, Stalika. This was the upset of the night. It was a possible bid thief, depending on how you view Washington, but the Oregon Ducks, as we predicted, not only beat Washington, but wrecked them.
This was the second time in a row that Oregon had actually wrecked Washington, and amazingly enough, none of those games were at the Pond in Eugene, but one was in Seattle for the Huskies' home finale, and now tonight, where Oregon just jumped out to a quick lead and never looked back against the Huskies. There was a reason why this team was a trendy upset pick, and the Oregon Ducks will be rewarded.
Yeah, David, this could be a dangerous team in the tournament. I mean, they're probably looking at a 12 seed, maybe an 11 at the tops for the Ducks.
Yeah, let's pull up their profile if you can real quick. And again, this is the team, although they finished 6th, has a huge head of steam heading into the NCAA tournament. I know that
on the right here.
Yeah, on the right there, and there's Washington and Oregon.
I'm trying here. I'm trying. It's late. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Washington, we'll start off with them. They have the 2 road wins. Colorado, while not a tournament team, 13-2 at home. They also won at Oregon. They won at Oregon State, who was pretty good at home. So Washington probably going to make it. Probably, although it is close. We'll get to what our mock committee thought of them in a minute. There's a lot of good teams on the bubble with good credentials now. But this Oregon team finished really, really strong after being really unimpressive for for a good portion of the season. And as weak as the Pac-12 is, if they were going to only get one bid, who had the better chance of winning in the round of 64? I think it was Oregon more than it was Washington. And God, I think they proved that not just today, but through the whole tournament.
If not for the bid thievery in other conferences, this was the perfect storm for a 3-bid Pac-12.
Yeah,
Arizona State's still definitely on the bubble. I think that we don't think that Arizona State's going to make it at this point. And whether or not Washington makes it, that the Huskies fans are going to be sweating out tomorrow. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, big time.
Mountain West Conference, John. We did not have a bid stolen here, assuming you thought Utah State was in, because they are definitely in at this point.
Yeah, this team is not going to be a Picasso, at least by Hoops HD standards. Now, they did handle another team that's made defense a strong point in the past 2 decades.
Yeah. The Utah State is not fun basketball to watch, but they won the tournament. They're in.
Yeah, they did. And, Joby wanted them out anyway, Joby Fortson, the guy.
So did I.
Yeah. Right. You see him if you watch the show, you know who Joby is. He was motioning them out despite the fact that they won the auto bid.
I seconded that motion. But
yes.
Let's keep going here. David, we got to see semifinals today. It was semifinal day in the Atlantic 10 where the bid had already been stolen when VCU got upset. We still think VCU is in, well, not completely comfortably, 95, 98% comfortably, we think.
For sure. I was kind of surprised by both of today's games. Just the margin of victory. St. Bonaventure, again, really weak profile, but down the stretch they have been phenomenal. And I think they got a really good chance at winning tomorrow and getting into the tournament and maybe making a little bit of noise in the round of 64. St. Louis had their moments. I mean, for the longest time, we thought that they were the best chance for a bid out of this league before VCU just really put it together. But, you watched them throughout the year. You thought that they looked good on paper, but not looking all that good on the court. But the last really 2 games, I mean, they almost went out against Richmond. Let's not forget that. They really had to sweat that one out, but beat Dayton, kind of pulled ahead of that one in the end, and were really not even close at all from the halftime on against the Davidson team that had looked pretty good.
Yeah, and I think St. Louis wins this. I think they are the better team tomorrow, despite being the lower seed. And it's really just, the momentum they gained from winning the Arch Baron Cup against St. Louis,
Yeah.
right, Slika?
Yeah.
St. Louis will certainly have momentum, but by the same token, I wish Titel were here because he had been touting St. Bonaventure in recent weeks, and
Yeah.
I'd have to look up to see the last time the Bonnies actually got back-to-back NCAA tournament bids. That's what's on the line for them tomorrow.
Absolutely. Let's keep rolling here, though, Sleek, into the Big Ten Conference, where we saw Michigan State and Michigan. The game we want to see that was not very exciting to get there, though. Really,
Michigan and Minnesota, not terribly surprising. That would be a blowout right there. Even Wisconsin, they did put somewhat of a game effort, but it's hard to deny Michigan State and Michigan this year.
Yeah, one of the things about this, we'll get to another one, but CBS has the selection show, and if you had to handpick the Big Ten championship game that you wanted leading into it, it probably would have been this one. So should be a great ratings day. I don't know how much the game will mean. We have both of these teams on the 2 line. I don't think we'll end up moving either one of them, much less on the seed list, much less off the line, but for a ratings day, I think CBS hit a home run with this one.
There's been a case in the media of a potential 1 seed for Michigan State. I think it's close. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think those 3 ACC teams, probably Gonzaga, and at least one of those 2 SEC teams are above them. But speaking of those SEC teams, it was semifinal day in the SEC where this was an incredible day of games, starting with the Auburn-Florida game where apparently the referees just forgot that they're allowed to call fouls on the final play when Florida's player was completely mugged shooting what would have been a game-tying 3 by 3 different players at the same time, and there was no call.
Right. One of the best tweets by Jerry Palm from CBS Sports in College RPI before that, it cracked me up. He said, "I don't really like it when refs swallow the whistles at the end of the game, but in this case, they choked on it."
That's pretty much. And then the Kentucky-Tennessee game was the thriller we've been waiting for between these 2 teams the first 2 times they played. We finally got it.
Yeah, not close, not even really exciting at all. The first 2 times they played, the home team winning handily. They met on a neutral floor in a city that's about mid-distance from both campuses, and it was sensational. It was close all the way throughout. It was a heavyweight fight. When it looked like Tennessee had momentum, Kentucky would make big plays, and vice versa. Tennessee was ahead when the game ended, but had they played another 20 minutes, I bet the lead would have changed at least 10 more times. A great win for Tennessee, and I think I don't know how the committee is going to handle this, but in my opinion, and I've been pushing for this, we'll see whether or not it succeeded. I think Tennessee made a statement that they are a 1 seed. They have the win over Gonzaga away from home. I know Gonzaga was without a key player, but that was still a really good win. They now have a win against Kentucky away from home, and they have an additional win against Kentucky on top of that. So when you look at the teams that are hovering around the 1-2 range, that's a lot of heavy lifting for this Tennessee team.
I agree, other than the one caveat that, let's take care of business with Auburn tomorrow also. That they are clearly the better team, but Auburn's been playing really well, and I would not be shocked to see a game out of this one here in the SEC Championship.
Right. And Auburn, a team I've been a bit high on all season.
John, American Conference semifinals. This was a conference where people were scared to death about bid thieves, and we almost had 2 of them in it, but we're not going to have one.
No contingency brackets will be needed this year. Memphis did give Houston a scare in their hometown, but much like their game against Cincinnati back in late January, the Tigers unable to pull off the upset. So
that big comeback. They were down big and made a late comeback. They stormed back in that game.
Yeah.
And the late game, though, Cincinnati, Wichita State. Did you want to hit that?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, David.
Okay, well, it was, again, a really good effort here by Wichita State. And one of the things that struck me about it is they didn't get the win, but how much better both them and Memphis, but Wichita in particular, were playing in these last few weeks as compared to the way they were playing when conference play started. I know it's disappointing. They to have your season end like that. But I think there's more to be excited about than discouraged about for both these teams. I think they're going to be back in a big way next year. And it was a nice win for Tennessee. I mean, don't be fooled by the fact that Wichita is way outside the bubble. This was a Wichita team that had been playing very well recently, and it was a decent win for Cincinnati. Tomorrow's game, 3:15 between these two, right up against the selection show on ESPN, whereas CBS has the Big Ten game that will lead into the selection show. ESPN has this game in which people will be changing the channel to watch the selection.
I do expect a pretty good game tomorrow, actually, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it may not matter much in terms of the tournament. And, I mean, the big question of the American is we think that UCF is in fairly solidly. We think Temple, though, we're going to talk to them about them when we talk to what our committee did. Right there, very bubbles-licious team in the Temple Owls this year. Let's go through some other championships that happened today. John, it was the America East title game to start the day. The rematch from last year, another thriller.
Yep, revenge is a dish best served cold here, and as I feared, UMBC not going to be able to beat Vermont for the third time, and now we'll see the Catamounts probably wind up in either a 13 or, at worst, the 14 line.
Yep, and David, we also had the championship game in the MAC where a bid could have been solely, and Bowling Green gave Buffalo their best effort.
Yeah, like a lot of Buffalo games this year, a team stays with them or even leads into the second half, and then Buffalo just either wears them down or gets it together or some combination of the two. They ended up opening it up, again, like they normally do with about 5-6 minutes to go. And by the end of the game, you look at the margin, and it looked like it was domination all the way through. It really wasn't, though. Good effort by Bowling Green, but this is a dangerous Buffalo team. That's hardly a hot take. That's more like stating the obvious.
Yeah, this is going to be a team nobody wants to be matched up with, not only in the first round, but in the second round even.
Right, yeah.
John, in the Big Sky, we had the favorite ended up winning. Montana takes down Eastern Washington and advances onto the NCAA tournament again.
No real shocker here, and I was also disappointed to see that ESPN was not featuring our favorite floor sweepers at halftime.
I've been disappointed.
We only got them in the first round. It was very disappointing.
It's just been upsetting that like the coverage of the floor sweepers has been lacking really from the quarterfinal round on.
Well, David, something that was even better than the floor sweepers. We had our one last look at the curtain today in Conference USA. Old Dominion, Western Kentucky. Well, it ended up being a real good game.
Yeah, both the semifinals games pretty good, and this one was really good too. Low scoring and defensive, but it seesaw back and forth. It was nip and tuck, and then it wasn't really until the final minute to where Old Dominion kind of put it away. And you look at this Old Dominion team, they have the win against VCU, albeit at home, but they also have the win against Syracuse. And as we've mentioned before, the last 4 years, this is odd for an under-the-radar conference, this conference has put a team in the round of 32. Old Dominion could do it again. I'm not going to predict that they will. I don't even know who they're going to play. But while they didn't always play up to their ceiling is pretty high. They won at Syracuse. They could do it again.
Well, John, another championship game over in the WAC. And once again, Grand Canyon, New Mexico State, and once again, same old story.
Well, this was a game Grand Canyon actually got out to a hot start, but by the same token, they actually ended up almost getting doubled up the rest of the way to the tune of 89-47.
Yeah, 30 wins of the season now for New Mexico State. How about that?
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, they blew through this league, and especially in the second half of conference play. I mean, they just ran over everyone. I think that they've improved as the season has gone along, and they had some pretty exciting moments, most notably when they almost won at Kansas. This isn't just a good team. It's a team that could win a game in the round of 64. And, well, they don't have the profile to match how good they are, which is another thing that's typical of a team like this that has limited opportunities. But this team is really good. I mean, top 40 in the nation good.
Yeah. And David, let me stick with you because we had a team that is in the NCAA tournament for the third consecutive year out of a conference that has had some crazy upsets happen in this tournament. But now maybe we just say every year NC Central is going to win the MEAC.
Yeah, back dancing again. And an exciting game, low scoring game out in Norfolk. But if you look at their path there, they had to squeak by rival A&T in the semis and then picked up the win today. It was pretty good showing, so congrats to them.
And John, speaking about congrats, we have our second first-time team in the NCAA tournament. Abilene Christian wins the Southland tournament, taking care of New Orleans tonight. So congratulations here also.
Yep, congratulations to Abilene Christian, and congratulations on overcoming a roster that had been depleted going into the tournament, but not mortally, as we can see.
No, I mean, I think they're done. I think this is maybe a 15 seed, probably a 16 seed. Probably avoids Dayton, but one of those non-Dayton, non-first four 16 seeds for Abilene Christian.
A really good story. We've talked about them all through the year. Just recently transitioned up. I believe this is their second year removed from the transition, and playing in their first ever Southland tournament. They didn't even qualify for it last year. To win it is a pretty big deal. They've been fun to watch all year. And when they lost those two players, you kind of thought the party was over, but not so much. It's great for the program. It's great for the institution. Really, because this isn't just something that an athletic department decides to do. That happens at the university and board of trustees level to decide to move to D1, and boy, is it paying off for them.
Yeah. So now not only did we earlier this year have Liberty, who's undefeated in the Atlantic Sun all time, we now have Abilene Christian undefeated in the Southland tournament all time. So
right, yeah.
Look for those streaks to continue next year, maybe. SWAC championship game, and this was actually a really good game, David, against the two best teams, the teams we wanted, and congratulations, Prairie View finally broke through a team other than Southern or Texas Southern, winning the SWAC tournament for the first time in about a decade, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while. Prairie View, clearly the dominant team throughout the regular season. I always thought Texas Southern had the upper edge, that while they dropped a few games, it was more of them.
I'm trying to figure out what all that noise is and what John is drinking down there or something, but go ahead.
It's St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
Selection Sunday. But anyway, Prairie View, again, getting it done. They certainly were clearly the more deserving team if you watched how they played throughout the conference. I got to give a shout-out to the SWAC. They actually put on a pretty good event down at the indoor crossplex. Not a basketball arena, moving it out of what I think was an NBA arena in Houston.
They were in the NBA arena in Houston. They moved to Birmingham, and they found the number 3 basketball court in Birmingham after both the UAB's facility as well as number 4 maybe after Samford's facility too. They could have gone there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Sanford's is actually nicer than UAB's, I think. Sanford's got it going on. And
there's a downtown convention center.
There is.
Used as well. Okay. John, it was semifinal day in the Sun Belt Conference today. We've got one more championship. We'll get back to that in a second. But semifinal day in the Sun Belt, Georgia State and Texas Arlington win, and both kind of won going away at the end.
They win going away, and for Texas Arlington, this represents the opportunity to right a couple wrongs that they've had in recent years with their inability to close out and make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, David, so we have Georgia State, Texas Arlington tomorrow at 2 o'clock. What are we looking forward to in the Sun Belt title game?
Georgia State, to me, it appears to be the superior team, although Arlington, one of those teams that struggled for a lot of the year but finished really strong at the end of it. Played their way all the way up to second after not even really being in the mix or not thinking they were going to be for the first half of league play. So I'm probably overlooking them a little bit, but I just can't see them beating Georgia State tomorrow.
I agree with you. And it'd be fun to have Ron Hunter back in the tournament, quite honestly.
Yes,
too.
And I hope to God he does not injure himself this time.
David, let me stick with you. It was also Ivy League semifinal day, and these were fun games.
Yeah, I thought Penn, because they entered with such a big head of steam, was going to win this game. They won it very recently in convincing fashion about a week or so ago against Harvard, but not to be. Harvard-Yale in the final, the big rivalry. And the last time these two played, it was freaking amazing. We had a last second. We had appeared to be a game-winning shot in the final seconds, offset by a last-second buzzer beater. So if we get a game like that tomorrow, it's going to be fun. But, yeah, the top 2 seeds, the games that they played during the year were great. We get a rubber match or at least a third game. Circle this when it starts at noon. You don't want to miss it.
This should be a fun one. John, we waited for the Big West because it was just going final as we recorded. It should be on the screen there, and yes, it is. Just ending now, the Big West, UC Irvine, as expected, rolls Cal State Fullerton and on to the NCAA tournament.
UC Irvine has been rolling since mid-January right here, and Cal State Fullerton, after a close win against UCSB last night, just had nothing left in the tank for the Anteaters.
Yeah. How about the Eaters winning 30 games this year? Like you mentioned for New Mexico State, they entered the NCAA tournament with 30 wins. That's remarkable.
Yeah, great season for Irvine. Very, very dangerous team. Both them and New Mexico State. Whoever matches up with them is going to be sweating in the first round. One other tournament, we mentioned it last night. My local team, Swarthmore, did not win. And congratulations, John. Your Wisconsin Oshkosh team wins the D3 National Championship.
I don't know they were my team. Granted, they are one of the Midwest teams, but
you have the whole Midwest. I've got the East. We'll give David everything else. He can have Mexico.
Yeah. But I'll throw you a bone and go for the East Coast once Mary Mac goes into action for D2.
Yeah. D2, really, 477 members. If you pay attention to us, and I know that you do, the survival board, what does their survival board look like going in the championship?
They may need a bigger website than we even have. Let's think we had our mock committee meeting today, and I can pull up here the results of our mock committee for the day. But let's discuss what happened here, and because maybe let me start by kind of explaining to everybody what we see on the screen here. On the left side, you see the automatic bids. American, Big Ten, SEC will be decided tomorrow. We can even update live here, I think, and actually put UC Irvine right in there as the Big West champion. How about that?
Yes, how about that? This is exciting.
There we go. There's a couple of spots where there's 2 teams. Those are the games that play tomorrow. The at-large bids, there's 3 extras because the Big Ten, the SEC, and the ACC spots will open up as one of those the at-large teams moves over.
Yeah.
Our under consideration board, you see 2 teams in bold there, Creighton and Indiana. Those were our top 2 teams out. And our last 4 teams in over here on the seed list, Ohio State, Belmont, Temple, and Washington.
Yeah. And again, there's still some controversy. We voted them in, but there has been a motion to remove them. And the way that works is that if 8 of the 10 people approve the motion, those last 2 teams could switch.
Right. And John, right now we are pending a serious debate that we're going to have tomorrow over whether or not Washington stays in this field, whether or not Creighton or Indiana replaces them, or maybe even whether or not Temple stays in this field.
Yeah.
I think Indiana is probably going to have the shakier case given how close they are to 500. But as people like Joby and our committee have pointed out, Washington does not have wins against any teams that are going to be a surefire NCAA tournament team at this point, and I'm not counting the win at Oregon.
Let's do a little quick resume test here, David. We still have Washington up on the left there. I'm going to put Creighton up against them on the right. It's
top
very
out
debatable. They're good, so it's a lot better. And
yeah, they top out higher. Marquette certainly better. Clemson, not the best, but Providence pretty decent on the road. There isn't a whole lot of good there, but they top out a little higher, and they were playing so well down the stretch that I think that it's easier to make the case for Creighton. I will be arguing for that. We'll see what the committee decides to do. And Chet, this is important. We want to mention this because what we are doing, while it is a mock committee, while it's Hoops HD, we are also offering it up to the NCAA as a backup NCAA tournament bracket, are we not? Because you never know what's going to happen. And things like this happen. The NCAA, the computers could crash, the power could go out, they could save their work, the disk drive could go nuts, and then suddenly at 6 o'clock they have no tournament. Well, here it is. Here's the tournament for the NCAA.
Yep. Look at our website. Probably a little after 5:30 tomorrow. We will have We'll have this bracketed up. We'll have made our final moves on the board here. We will have the bracket out there at NCAA. You can take it and use it. Absolutely. You're welcome to use it for your field. I just wanted to I was pulling up the Indiana profile there also. John, quick look at these other two teams, Indiana and Temple, actually. We have Temple in, Indiana out. Do you agree with that still, or?
I think Temple is a team that's going to be banking pretty heavily on their wins against Houston and Central Florida. Their road record overall is going to be pretty respectable, but when your best wins are on neutral court against Davidson, at Missouri, at Wichita State, and also at South Florida, that's going to be kind of real iffy, but they are decent quad 2 wins by the same token.
Yeah, you compare them to an Indiana, though. Indiana, the huge sweep of Michigan State, but there's nothing else away from home really beyond that. And I mean, and so many losses. So it's going to be a real interesting. But we think these are the 4 teams that are being debated for 2 spots, and that's what we wanted to bring up.
That's who we're debating.
Let's go ahead and let's figure out where we were here. Let's go over to our survival board.
Yeah.
If they are going to not use our field, they need to use the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee needs to use it. Survival board and all the conference tournament tabs are right up there above us. But what is a survival board, David? This is where we were heading into today.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just breaks down all the teams that are still playing that haven't been eliminated yet, and tells you where they stand. A lot of these teams have been eliminated. I'm sorry, and they're not still playing. But it just breaks everybody down into basically 3 categories: those that are locks that the committee needs to take. So Duke, Florida State, Louisville. Those are locks. The committee needs to take those teams. Those that are in italics, you see Lipscomb there, Davidson, although we can probably remove them. St. John's. These are teams that you want to consider. You may want to think about taking. Maybe you take them, maybe you don't. And then the teams that are just in normal type, you don't need to worry about them at all unless they win the automatic bid.
Right. And this is where we're heading into the day. And we had a total of 99 teams remaining overall. As a result of today's action, down to 81.
81. We're normally below 80 heading into the last day.
And as you can see here, actually, there were 60 out of 68 teams. We have 60 teams that are either bolded or bold in all caps. There's only 8 spots left.
Right.
3 of them will go to automatic bid winners out of the Ivy League, Sun Belt, and the Atlantic 10. So at least 5 at-large spots left. That's it among all the teams that are left in italics. You could see Clemson, NC State, Temple, Lipscomb, Texas, Creighton, St. John's, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So and then once we get to tomorrow, we'll have 78 teams remaining on the survival board to consider.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, David, I think we're going to take this down here, and you wanted to discuss the problems we've been trying to solve with the NCAA, correct?
Oh, yeah. Well, how about
before we get to that, we got Rocco Miller with us. Hold on.
Oh, hey, guys. Good evening. How are we?
We're great. We just finished going through all the teams, all the games, but why don't we start over again?
No, it's okay. You don't have to start over.
Okay. We do want to get your take, though, Rocco. You are a Washington guy. They lost the game, and they lost badly tonight to Oregon. Your thoughts on are they still in the field?
Right now, I think we still are. The Huskies are still in the field. I just think that was a really tough game. Oregon has got the matchup advantage at almost every position, had all the size down low. Once the Huskies had to get a basket, they just didn't have an answer. Really concerns me, honestly, for what's coming ahead as long as they still are an NCAA tournament team. I think they still are in, but it was a frustrating night all around. It didn't seem like anything was going the Huskies' way beyond the matchup issues. If you guys were watching, you probably noticed all the way until the 8-minute mark, there was no free throws attempted by the Washington Huskies. So tough night all around. And I think from a resume standpoint, the Huskies are looking at a tough situation. But, hey, with Oregon's win, they now have a win over the field.
We'll give them that. You probably don't even know this yet, but our mock selection committee has Washington as our very last team in right now. They got moved all the way down to the bottom of the first 4. And there's been some debate of whether Creighton or Indiana belongs in above them or above Temple, who's on that first 4 as well. But, David, we got another issue you want to discuss?
Well, yeah. Wow, it's dark in here. Oh, okay. There it is. The puppet maker. Well, Chad, we had we had a great idea of what we were going to do all throughout championship week, and that's that we were going to try and point out issues that with college basketball, fix those issues, or make certain things better. And we were going to reach out to people that we thought could help us. Some of the people that you reached out to were Dee Snider, Kim Kardashian, that baseball player for the Phillies.
The Fonz.
The Fonz.
These are great people.
Like, I was just wondering what the hell you thought reaching out to these people. You needed to reach out to somebody that could matter, which you did last night when you tweeted to the NCAA, but your issue last night was your kitchen sink.
It was clogged.
Right. So I've just been kind of so you are my issue, Chad.
Oh,
you are my
your issue.
Yes. And I am okay, I got to get the screen. You're my issue. I mean, you've got me so upset I can't even and I'm reaching out to someone who actually can help. I'm reaching out to selection committee guessing expert at Hoops HG, Untitled. And here's what I say. Chad is an idiot. He emailed Dee Snider about the size of the field and the NCAA about his sink. Please have him fired and make me the Hoops HD host. And it's away.
I hope he ignores you. I hope he blocks you. You deserve to be blocked for that. I don't even know what to say at this point. Other than let's go to any of our final thoughts for the night. And Rocco, I know you just joined us, but why don't you start things off here?
Well, it's been a fun couple of days. I know I wasn't able to join yesterday. I missed a lot of the action, but it's been good to get caught up today. All these bid thief opportunities played out exactly about how I thought they would. I thought out of 8 or 9 opportunities, we'd end up with 3 or 4. At the end, we end up with 3 solid and possibly a 4th if Belmont is selected. So it's exactly how I thought it would come. Now, we didn't know where it was going to come from, especially St. Mary's being the most unlikely. But it's been a really fun week, been a really fun process being part of the Hoops HD mock selection committee when I was able to join. And then we're very much looking forward to not a lot of sleep tonight to put the final bracket together, but also everything that Selection Sunday brings. It's obviously all 4 of ours, one of our favorite days of the year. So it's just been it's been a good ride, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out tomorrow.
Yep, and we got a lot ahead still with next week with the tournament itself. But Stalika, you're up next.
Rather quietly with their win today, Tennessee is actually now 4-2 against Kentucky in the past 2 years. Last year at this time, it was Kentucky who was actually winning the SEC tournament over in St. Louis. It did help the Vols that they were going to have a hometown crowd of sorts in Nashville. But by the same token, as we discussed earlier, it does give Tennessee a pathway to a possible number 1 seed, assuming they are able to hold off former Tennessee coach Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers. So we shall see what happens tomorrow.
We shall. And David, you want to end the show and end the regular season for Hoops HD?
Yeah, we'll be back actually Monday. I don't think we're going to be on tomorrow. We normally don't, but we'll be back. We'll have notes and stuff and all that, but we'll be back on Monday. Really, just throughout championship week, more so than ever, I think a lot of the conference tournaments produced the team with the best chance or one of the best chances of winning a game in the round of 64 all the way down to even the bottom. The SWAC champion Prairie View probably not going to win a game in the round of 64, but if you had to pick someone from the SWAC that you thought would, it would have been them. The exception, the Summit League and the Missouri Valley not really getting anyone in. The Summit League had a really good team in South Dakota State, and had Omaha won the championship, they would have been a good representative. Nothing against North Dakota State. I just don't think they're going to get it done. But all the way up and down the line, and when you follow the under-the-radar schools in conferences, you know that there's typically 1 or 2 really good teams that, as good as they are, they just don't have the profile. All those teams got through. Or most of them, like Northeastern, while not winning the conference, probably built the best to win a game in the round of 64. Gardner-Webb in the Big South, while they finished 4th, they finished really hot, and they had moments throughout the year. I don't know what they'll do, but New Mexico State getting through, Irvine getting through, all of the teams that you thought would do well in the round of 64 seemingly all got through. So while we didn't see a lot of upsets, it was pretty chalky. It might be the recipe for more next week in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Well, based on what you said, I'm picking Bradley and North Dakota State to win in the tournament because those are two teams you single out as not being deserving. So, on that note, I do want to thank everyone.
Well, they're deserving. They're just not going to win.
I do want to thank everyone for joining us. We will be back Monday night. We're going to be recording an NCAA tournament Hoops special, Hoops HD report special, where we are going to actually be filling out the bracket on the air on Monday night with the input of many of our Hoops HD experts here, and we will be actually give you the bracket that you need to win your pool. So that's the one you should.
We're not guaranteeing that, but
we are guaranteeing it, David.
All right.
What's the prize if I don't know. We'll work on that. But on behalf of John Stalika, Rocco Miller, check him out at bracketeer.org. David Griggs, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again Monday night. And John fell asleep.